Hi everyone, it's Melissa from In Charge Coaching, and today I'm addressing a question that I've been getting a lot in the past month, I would say even 2 months. So the question I've been receiving from a lot of people who are following me or my clients is, what's your advice on this transition that we're about to face about moving from virtual to in office? In the past 2 years, we faced a lot of changes, and for you leaders, you're facing another one, which is that transition back to the office. So for those who don't know me, who may be new to me, my name's Melissa. I'm an executive coach and a management consultant, and I usually work with driven leaders, build high-performing teams, and help them win back their time as the master strategist. So if you are one of those leaders and you are thinking about transitioning your team, I'm sure you're having some emotions, you're having some concerns about the transition ahead. And if you're feeling that and you're thinking that, imagine what your team is thinking. Each individual person is having their own concerns, worries, and feelings about this transition about to happen. So that's all tension that's just below the surface, and the best way to prepare for transition is to plan for it, to start looking at it ahead of time before it happens. Often we kind of think it's not a big deal, we're just going to play it out, and then we realize that, well, there is a chaos of emotions that we're dealing with once we're already in it. So getting ready ahead of time is my first tip on making it a smooth transition. So how do you do that? I have a few steps here that I'm going to share with you on how to prepare for this transition. Step one is to understand the tension below the surface. It's to understand not only what you're feeling and what you're worried about, but what is your team feeling and worried about. There's a really great activity to do that that's called the worry hat. Now, traditionally, the worry hat, you would gather around a table, you'd have a hat or a bowl or something, you'd get everyone to write anonymously on a piece of paper what their concern is. And then you would fold it up, put it in the hat, and then you would be able to go through those, read them out loud, and see what the patterns are. Now, you're not in person, so you can't sit around a table and use a hat. So how you can do it virtually is the same idea, but you could make it as simple as using a Google form, making sure that it's set to anonymous. And on anonymity is really important here because you want real, honest, transparent answers. If you want to really know what's going on, make sure it's anonymous. And you can gather it ahead of time. So step one is to create that Google form, send it out, and ask your team members to share with you what are their concerns about returning to the office. Step two is about looking at that information. Look at the data, look at the themes, look at the patterns. What are you noticing? So from that, you can meet with your team and share the data that you're seeing and co-create with them a plan. It could be preventing some of these things that they're concerned about, or it could be addressing, if this happens, then we will do that. So if this, then that plans. So they're going to be able to feel comfortable that their concerns are being addressed, and whatever they're worried about, there is a plan in place to address it if it happens, or to prevent it from happening. And step number 3 would be following that to keep an open conversation. So I would say short, frequent burst of communication before, during, and after the transition has happened, so that you can know in real time and keep on top of what's happening and adapt as you're going along. And change is not linear, it's not one action. The day that we return to the office, that's not it. There's going to be lots happening after. So it's just not just the day that we're setting foot in the office, is my point here. So make sure that you're setting up you're baking in your plan or in your communication plan a way that you can be asking about how the transition is happening and having that flow of communication throughout the transition. So 3 steps: use the worry hat activity and make it virtual by using a Google form. 2, have that conversation. So look at the data, look at the patterns, share it with your team and co-create plans with them to be ready. And 3, bake into your communication plan a way to have short, frequent bursts of 2-way communication about the transition as it's happening. So I hope that was helpful. If you have any other questions, concerns, if you're going through it and you have data and patterns and you're not really sure what to do with it, I'm open to having conversations. Just send me a DM and I'm happy to help. We'll see you in the next live.